It was a quiet Sunday morning, the kind that used to bring me peace, the kind where I'd sit by the window, coffee steaming beside me, and pretend that life hadn't become so painfully distant after my wife died. I was staring at the old photo of my son, Ethan, when my phone buzzed. The screen flashed a name I hadn't seen in months. Martin Clark, lawyer. My heart gave a strange jolt. Martin only called when something serious was involved, business, estate, or death. I answered, trying to sound calm. "Martin, what's going on?" There was hesitation on the other end. Then his voice, measured, heavy. "Mr. Walker, I need you to come to my office, immediately." "Martin, it's Sunday. Can't this wait until Monday?" He exhaled sharply. "No, sir. It's about your son." My grip tightened around the phone. "Ethan, is he hurt?" There was silence. Then, "Not physically, but you should hear this in person. It's something I can't discuss over the phone." That moment felt like the floor opened beneath me. My son and I hadn't spoken in almost a year, not since the argument about the inheritance. He'd accused me of hoarding what belonged to him, saying I was living off dead money. Those words had burned me more than he'd ever know. I still remember the day he stormed out, shouting, "You'll regret keeping secrets from me." Secrets. I thought I had buried them well. As I drove to Martin's office, the sky turned gray. Rain tapped against the windshield, each drop echoing my heartbeat. The city felt colder than usual, like it knew what was coming. Martin was waiting in his office, his face pale. He motioned me to sit, then locked the door. "I received an anonymous file this morning," he said, sliding a brown envelope across the desk. "It concerns Ethan and your late wife's trust." I hesitated. "What kind of file?" He sighed. "The kind that makes me wish I'd never opened it." I'd were photocopies of legal documents, bank transfers, property deeds, and a handwritten letter addressed to Martin, from Ethan himself. My chest tightened as I unfolded the letter. "If my father ever finds out the truth, it'll destroy everything. But I won't stop until I get what's mine." There were dates, names, hidden transactions, and one phrase that froze me. Mom's death wasn't an accident. My hand trembled. "What is this?" Martin lowered his voice. "The letter implies Ethan was involved in your wife's death, or at least knew more than he told the police." The world around me blurred. My breathing quickened, and I felt like my chest would collapse. My son, my own blood, involved in his mother's death? Martin placed a hand on my arm. "I'm sorry, John, but there's more." He reached for another file, this one smaller, marked confidential. He hesitated before handing it over. "Whoever sent this wanted you to know what Ethan's been planning." My voice cracked. "Planning? For what?" Martin looked straight into my eyes. "To destroy you." My world stopped. The man I raised, the boy I carried on my shoulders, was plotting my downfall. For a long moment, I just stared at the rain sliding down the window. The sound was distant, like it belonged to another world. Finally, I whispered, "Show me everything." Martin nodded. "You'd better brace yourself." Martin opens the confidential file. Inside is a photo of Ethan, standing with a woman I recognize instantly. My late wife's best friend, the one who vanished after her funeral. What if my son didn't just betray me, but helped erase his own mother? I couldn't take my eyes off the photograph. There was Ethan, smiling casually beside Clara Monroe, my wife's closest friend and my former business associate. She disappeared right after the funeral, leaving behind whispers of stolen money and hidden motives. Now she was standing beside my son. Martin's tone was grave. This photo was taken 3 months ago, in Miami. They're partners in a company registered under Clara's name. But the funding, it came from your personal accounts. I felt my stomach twist. That's impossible. Those accounts were locked. He shook his head. Apparently not. Someone with power of attorney unlocked them 6 months ago. Only one person had that authority, Ethan. I pressed my hands against my temples. The betrayal felt too sharp, too deliberate. My son had used my trust, my signature, my blood, to fund whatever he and Clara were building. Martin slid over another document. This isn't just money, John. They're buying real estate under shell corporations, properties tied to your late wife's inheritance. Everything is being siphoned away quietly. I stood, pacing the room. You're telling me my own son is stealing from me and using her death as leverage? Martin nodded grimly. And he's close to succeeding. My throat burned as I stared at the photo again. Clara's smile, calm, calculated, haunted me. She had always been the charming one, whispering advice into my wife's ear, always present in family matters. I had trusted her like a sister. Now I wondered if she had played both of us. Find out where they are, I ordered. Now. Martin hesitated. John, what are you planning to do? I looked at him, voice low. What a father must. As I drove home, the sky was darkening again, as if nature refused to give me light. My mind raced between grief and fury. I replayed every moment, Ethan's distant tone, his hidden calls, the way he'd flinched, whenever I mentioned his mother's will. When I reached home, I opened the drawer of my desk and pulled out an old box. Inside lay a USB drive labeled Margaret, Private, my wife's personal files. I hadn't touched it in years. I plugged it into my laptop. The folder opened with dozens of emails, some from Clara, some from Ethan. One caught my attention, dated 2 weeks before her death. I can't keep your secret forever. John deserves to know. Clara. My hands froze. What secret? Then another email, this time from my son. Don't tell him anything. If Dad finds out, it'll ruin everything we built. I scrolled down, my pulse quickening, until I saw the final message, unsent, but saved as a draft from my wife's account. If you're reading this, something has gone wrong, and the people I trusted most are the ones who destroyed me. The room spun. The air felt heavy, suffocating, and then a notification appeared on my screen. A new email. No sender name, just a single subject line. You're too late. The email contained a single attachment, a live video feed of Ethan entering a house I didn't recognize, and Clara waiting at the door. If they thought I'd stay quiet after this, they'd forgotten who I was before I became their father. The video feed kept looping. Ethan walking into that strange house, Clara greeting him like an old friend, her arms wrapped around him as if she owned him. It wasn't affection, it was control, the kind that reeks of manipulation. I paused the video, zooming in on the frame. The house had pale blue walls, a distinctive arched window, and an address plate half visible in the corner, 219 Grove Avenue. I knew that neighborhood. My company had once owned property there until someone convinced my wife to sell it right before she died. Coincidence? No. Within hours, I was behind the wheel again, heading toward that address. The rain had stopped, but the roads glistened like polished glass. My reflection in the windshield looked foreign, eyes hollow, jaw clenched. When I reached Grove Avenue, I parked across the street. The house was exactly as in the video, blue walls, that same arched window. Through the curtain I caught a shadow moving. 2 voices murmured inside. I got out quietly, keeping to the edge of the fence. Every step felt heavier, as if years of disappointment were pressing down on me. I could hear Ethan's laugh. I hadn't heard it in months, but there it was, warm, confident, and entirely wrong. Then Clara spoke. "He doesn't suspect a thing?" "No," Ethan said. "He still thinks Mom's accident was, well, an accident." Clara chuckled softly. "Good. Once the last property's signed over, you'll be free of him completely." My chest went tight. Free of me? I leaned closer to the open window, my pulse hammering. Clara continued. "He'll never know the truth about that night. He'll just keep blaming himself, and that's punishment enough." The world tilted. That night, the car crash that killed my wife, had always haunted me. I'd believed it was my fault because we'd fought before she left. But now I realized someone else might have caused it. My phone vibrated suddenly. Martin again. I silenced it quickly, but Ethan had already paused mid-sentence. "What was that?" Clara asked. "Probably just the rain," he said, glancing out the window. For a terrifying second, his eyes scanned the yard. I froze, barely breathing. After a tense minute, they went back inside. I waited until midnight before I finally left, driving home in silence. My mind was a battlefield. Rage against my son, confusion about my wife, and the haunting thought that Clara had been the spider weaving this web all along. Back home, I poured myself a drink and opened my old journal. I used to write every night when Margaret was alive. On the last page, I scribbled, "If the truth kills what's left of my heart, so be it. But I'll know." I made up my mind. I'd confront them, but not yet. First, I needed to know exactly what they were hiding. The next day, I called Martin. "Find out who owns the house on 219 Grove Avenue, quietly. I don't want anyone knowing." He agreed, but asked, "John, what are you planning?" I stared at my reflection in the dark window. "I'm planning to learn how deep my son's betrayal really goes." And as I hung up, I noticed something odd. The video feed on my laptop wasn't looping anymore. The live camera had shifted. Now the view was of me, sitting at my desk. Someone had hacked my system, and they were watching me. If Ethan thought he was the hunter, he had no idea his father still remembered how to set traps. The red recording light blinked at the corner of my laptop screen. Tiny, almost invisible. But once you see it, you can't unsee it. Someone was inside my computer watching. I disconnected the Wi-Fi and yanked the USB out, my hands trembling. The room was dead silent except for the hum of the air conditioner. I stood there, listening, half expecting someone to knock on the door. No one did. The next morning I met Martin again, this time at a small cafe. He looked pale, holding a manila folder tight to his chest. "John, this is worse than we thought." I leaned forward. "Tell me." "The property on Grove Avenue. It's registered under an offshore trust. Guess who the trustee is?" I said nothing. "Clara Monroe," he continued. "But the beneficiary listed is your son, Ethan Walker." My throat tightened. "So it's his, officially?" "Yes. But there's something else. That trust is funded by money that came from your wife's insurance payout." I felt my pulse drop. The money she left for me. "Exactly. It was moved days after her death." I closed my eyes. "So they planned this together? All along?" Martin hesitated. "There's more. Clara has been in contact with the same investigator who ruled your wife's death an accident." That name stung like acid. Detective Harris. The man who told me there were no signs of foul play. I realized something then. The cover-up was complete, built on lies, sealed with signatures. My wife's death wasn't just an accident. It was a transaction. I looked at Martin. "Can you get me Harris's report, the unedited one?" He nodded. "It'll take a day or two." "Do it," I said. "And Martin, don't contact me until you have it. They're watching." When I returned home, every shadow felt alive. I checked my security cameras. 3 of them were offline. My son had once installed those systems for me as a gift. The irony wasn't lost on me. I sat in my study and wrote everything down: names, dates, bank accounts. I needed to stay one step ahead. That's when I received another message, this time from an unknown number. "Stop digging, Dad, for your own good." My hand clenched around the phone. Ethan had crossed a line. I dialed his number immediately. He answered on the second ring, his voice calm, distant. "Dad." "You're watching me?" I said. Silence. "Answer me." A sigh. "I told you not to get involved, Dad. You wouldn't understand." "You're right," I said quietly. "I don't understand how my son became a stranger." He hesitated. "Things were never what they seemed. Mom, she wasn't the woman you thought she was." The line clicked. He hung up. I stared at the dead phone, my mind swirling. What did he mean? Was this all about her secrets, or his? I poured myself another drink and sat in darkness, replaying his words. Then I heard a soft ding from my computer. A new email. Subject: "You want the truth? Come find it." Attached: a single GPS coordinate, Grove Avenue basement level. I grabbed my coat. If this was the trap Ethan wanted me to walk into, he was about to learn. Some traps bite back. They thought they buried their secrets deep, but I was done being the grieving father. I was becoming the hunter. The coordinates led me back to that cursed place, 219 Grove Avenue. This time, I didn't come as a father searching for his son. I came as a man ready to uncover a grave. The street was empty, the night heavy with fog. I parked 2 blocks away and walked the rest, my coat pulled tight, heart steady. Every step was a whisper from the past, my wife's laughter, my son's first words, the sound of betrayal echoing louder than both. When I reached the back of the house, I noticed a basement door half hidden beneath overgrown vines. The metal lock had been recently changed, new and polished. Whoever had sent that message wanted me to find this, but not to get inside easily. I crouched and pulled a small crowbar from my pocket. Old habits die hard. Before I became a husband, before I built companies, I'd worked construction. I knew how to pry open what didn't want to open. The lock snapped. The door creaked open into darkness. The air inside was damp, thick with mildew and secrets. A faint hum came from below. Machines, maybe a generator. I turned on my flashlight. The beam cut through the dark, revealing old furniture, boxes, and a faint smell of burnt paper. Then I saw it. A cork board on the far wall covered in photos. Ethan. Me. Margaret. Clara. Every one of us connected by red string, like a detective's web. But this wasn't an investigation. It was an obsession. I stepped closer, my breath catching. There were bank statements, copies of our wills, even surveillance photos of me leaving my lawyer's office. Someone had been tracking every move I made. In the center of the board, one photo stood out, a picture of my wife taken the night before she died. Behind her was a reflection in the car window. Clara. I whispered, "You were there." Then something moved in the shadows, a soft scrape of metal against concrete. I spun around, flashlight shaking, and saw a figure at the top of the stairs. "Dad?" Ethan stood there, calm, his face unreadable. My hand tightened around the flashlight. "Why, Ethan?" Why all this? He came down the stairs slowly, his expression almost pitying. Because you lied to me my entire life. What are you talking about? He stopped a few feet away. You told me Mom loved you, that she was faithful, that she built this family with you. But she didn't, did she? I froze. Don't twist this. She was in love with someone else, he snapped. Someone you destroyed. The air went still. I felt my pulse roar in my ears. Who? His voice dropped. Clara's husband. It hit me like a hammer. I had suspected my wife's friendship with Clara was strange, but her husband, Victor, had disappeared years ago after a business scandal. You think I destroyed him? I said. Ethan, that's insane. He smiled sadly. Maybe. But the truth is coming out, Dad, whether you like it or not. Then he turned and walked back up the stairs, leaving me alone in that room of ghosts. I looked again at the photo board. Beneath it, taped to the wall, was a small black recorder with a blinking red light, still running. When I pressed play, my wife's voice filled the room. If you're hearing this, it means Ethan knows the truth, and so does Clara. She'd recorded her own confession, but what she revealed next changed everything I thought I knew. The sound of her voice almost broke me. Margaret. My wife. Gone for nearly 5 years, and yet in that moment she felt alive again, close enough to touch. I sat on the cold concrete floor, the recorder trembling in my hands as I pressed it closer to my ear. Her tone was calm, fragile, haunted. John, if Ethan ever finds this, please forgive me. I've made terrible mistakes. Clara and I were keeping secrets, not to hurt you, but to protect him. Protect him? She continued, her breath shaking. Clara's husband, Victor, he found out about something we did. We moved money through his company, money from your business. It wasn't supposed to be permanent, but when he threatened to expose us, Clara panicked. I felt the world tilt beneath me. Oh, God. We didn't mean for what happened that night. The crash wasn't an accident, John. It was staged, to make it look like Victor disappeared. But he didn't die in that crash. Clara made sure of that. I stopped breathing. If Ethan ever learns what we did, he'll hate both of us. Please, John, protect him from the truth. The recording ended. Silence swallowed the room. Protect him? She'd buried the truth to shield him, yet it was that very lie that turned him against me. I looked up at the photo wall again, my mind spinning. If Victor was alive, Clara had been working all this time for him, not for Ethan. I stood, every muscle trembling, rage and clarity fusing into one. My wife hadn't been a saint, but she hadn't deserved to die. And now, 2 people who once shared her secret were using my son as a pawn. I turned off the flashlight, leaving the basement in darkness. For the first time, my fear was gone. I knew my next move. When I got home, I played the recording again, this time over the phone to Martin. He didn't speak for a long while. Finally, he said, John, if Victor Monroe is alive, this isn't just revenge, it's a cover-up, spanning years. I nodded. Then I'll tear the cover off. He sighed. That could destroy Ethan. Maybe, I said coldly. Or maybe it'll save what's left of him. That night, as I looked out my window, a black car parked across the street. 2 silhouettes sat inside, unmoving, watching. I switched off the lights and whispered to myself, You're not the only one who can play this game, Clara. But just as I turned away from the window, my phone buzzed. A message. No name, just text. You found her voice. Now find his. Attached was an audio file labeled, Victor, The Real Story, MP3. When I played it, a man's voice spoke softly through static. "Hello, John. It's been a long time. Your wife tried to save you. But now it's my turn to finish what she started. Victor Monroe wasn't dead. He was waiting, and my son was standing on his side." I pressed play. The voice that came through the speaker was low, deliberate, and cruelly calm. "John Walker, I've waited a long time to talk to you. I'm sure by now you've found Margaret's little recording. She told you part of the truth, but not the whole story. It was unmistakable. Victor Monroe, the man I thought was buried with my guilt. Your wife and I were partners, not in love, not in life, but in justice. She found out what you were doing with the company funds, and she wanted to fix it before it destroyed you. But when I tried to help, you framed me. You remember that audit, don't you?" I froze. That audit, years ago, when I discovered missing funds. Victor took the blame, vanished afterward, and Clara claimed he ran off. Now, he was saying I framed him. You made me the villain. But don't worry, John. I'm giving you a chance to confess, publicly. Your son already knows everything. He just doesn't know what I plan to do with him. The message ended. I sat there in the dark, trying to piece together decades of deceit. Margaret had lied. Clara had manipulated, and Victor had risen from the ashes to turn my own son into a weapon. I looked around the empty house. Every photo, every memory suddenly felt poisoned. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered quietly, "Ethan?" "Dad." His voice was unsteady. "I didn't know you'd find the recording." "I know everything now," I said. "You're being used." A long pause, then softly, "Maybe. But maybe I'm done being used by you. Ethan, listen to me. Clara and Victor..." He cut me off. "You never told me the truth about Mom. You lied to protect yourself." "That's not true." "Then meet me," he said coldly. "If you want answers, come to the docks at midnight." The call ended before I could reply. I looked at the clock. 11:12 p.m. I grabbed my coat, slipped Margaret's recorder into my pocket, and headed for the duoin. Outside, the rain started again. Harder this time. Relentless. The docks were empty when I arrived. Streetlights flickered. Water lapped against the pier. Then, headlights appeared. Ethan's car. He stepped out, wearing a black coat, eyes hollow, a man torn in half. "You look tired," he said quietly. "5 years of lies will do that," I replied. He studied me. "Victor says you stole everything. That Mom found out, and that's why she wanted to leave you." My breath caught. "That's what he told you?" He nodded. He showed me proof. Bank transfers. Letters. I reached into my pocket, pulling out the recorder. Then hear her truth, not his. I played Margaret's confession. As her voice filled the air, I saw Ethan's face shift from anger to disbelief, then heartbreak. "She lied to both of us," I said. "And Clara made sure we hated each other for it." For a moment he said nothing. Then tears welled in his eyes. She said she was protecting me." "She was," I said softly. "From him." A sharp sound echoed, a metallic click. We turned. A figure stepped out of the shadows. Victor Monroe. He looked older, but his eyes were alive with rage. "Touching reunion," he said, raising a gun. "But this story doesn't end with forgiveness." Victor aimed the gun at Ethan. "Sins of the father," he whispered, "paid by the son." I had already lost my wife. I wasn't going to lose my son. Not again. "Don't do this!" I shouted, stepping in front of Ethan. Victor smirked. "You always were dramatic, John. But this time, you don't get to write the ending. Whatever you think I did, take it out on me, not him. He laughed bitterly. You stole years of my life. You let the world call me a criminal while you rebuilt your empire. Your son helped me fix that mistake. Ethan looked at him, stunned. You said we were exposing the truth, not truth. Victor's smile widened. Truth doesn't matter. Only punishment. He aimed again, but before he could fire, Ethan lunged at him. The gun went off, once, deafening. Victor fell backward, clutching his arm. The gun skittered across the wet pier and dropped into the water. Ethan stumbled back, breathing hard. I didn't mean... It's over, I said, pulling him close. Victor groaned, trying to stand. You think this changes anything? I sent everything, to the media, to the police. They'll see what kind of man you really are. I stared at him, coldly calm. Then I'll show them what kind of man you became. Ethan whispered, Dad, let's go. Please. But I couldn't move. The man who'd haunted my family was lying at my feet, blood mixing with rainwater. I should have felt satisfaction. Instead, I felt something worse. Emptiness. Victor's voice grew weaker. You destroyed everything you touched, John. Even her. That cut deeper than the gunshot. I crouched beside him. No, Victor. You did. And you used my son to finish it. He tried to speak again, but his breath hitched, and then stopped. The waves lapped softly, indifferent witnesses. Ethan stood behind me, trembling. What now? He whispered. I looked at him, my chest aching. Now, we bury the truth before it buries us. We left the docks in silence. The storm had eased, but something heavier hung between us. Everything unspoken, everything ruined. Back home, I poured 2 glasses of whiskey. Ethan sat across from me, eyes hollow. He said quietly, You really didn't kill Mom, did you? No, I said, but I let her secrets kill us both. We sat in silence. Then my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. I opened the message. You can't hide murder forever. Attached was a video, grainy footage from the docks. Me, Ethan, Victor's body hitting the ground. I felt my stomach drop. Ethan stared. Who recorded this? I didn't have to guess. Clara. I exhaled slowly. The Queen is still alive. Ethan clenched his fists. Then we finish it. I looked into his eyes, the same determination I once saw in his mother's, and I knew the cycle wasn't over yet. I turned off the light, my voice low. No, son. This time, we write the ending together. The camera outside my house blinked red again, and through the monitor I saw Clara Monroe, standing in the rain, watching us. She killed one life, ruined another, and now she was back to collect what was left. Through the living room window, her silhouette stood motionless in the rain. Clara Monroe. 5 years gone, yet her presence felt exactly the same. Calm, poised, and dangerous. Ethan's hand gripped my shoulder. She's just standing there. She wants us to come out, I said. She always makes the first move without making the first move. I stepped outside, the rain drenching my coat instantly. Clara didn't flinch. Her face was older, sharper, her eyes cold and almost pitying. John, she said softly, you look tired. I buried too many lies, I replied. She smiled faintly. Victor's dead, isn't he? I hesitated. You knew he'd come for us. I counted on it, she said, stepping closer. He was a problem that needed to solve itself. Ethan came out glaring. You used all of us. You told me my father killed my mother. I told you the truth, Clara said, her voice smooth but venomous. Your father did destroy her, just not with his hands. Enough, I shouted. You wanted revenge and you got it. Margaret's gone, Victor's gone. What more do you want? Her eyes glinted under the streetlight. Closure. She tossed something toward me, a flash drive and a small waterproof pouch. Play it, she said. We went inside, tension thick as smoke. Ethan stood behind me while I plugged the drive into my laptop. A video began. Margaret, sitting in a dimly lit room. Her voice was calm, resigned. If you're watching this, it means Clara convinced me to record it. She said the truth could save Ethan one day. But I don't know anymore. I made a choice, John. I invested in Victor's deal behind your back. When it failed, Clara offered to fix everything. If I helped frame you. Ethan's breath caught. She made Mom do it? Margaret's voice trembled. She promised me no one would get hurt. I didn't know what she planned until it was too late. Forgive me. The screen went black. I, too, turned to Clara, fury rising. You turned her against me. You destroyed everything. Clara met my gaze coolly. You did that yourself, John. I just pushed the first domino. You ruined my son's life. I gave him a reason to live, she said. A truth worth fighting for. You should thank me. Ethan stepped forward, shaking. You're insane. Maybe, she said, smiling faintly. But at least I'm honest about it. Her phone buzzed. She looked down, then back at me. Police will be here soon. Someone sent them a video from the docks. I felt my stomach twist. You recorded us. Clara's smirk widened. I record everything. I realized too late. She'd never intended to walk away. Blue lights flashed in the distance. I whispered to Ethan, We have to go. Now. He hesitated. What about her? I looked at Clara one last time. She'll get her ending soon enough. We slipped out through the back door just as sirens filled the street. The rain swallowed us, heavy and cold. As we drove away, Ethan stared out the window. Dad, are we the villains now? I didn't answer. I couldn't. Because maybe we were. The flash drive was still in my pocket, but on it was a second hidden file named, Some Truths Are Meant to Be Buried. Others dig themselves out. We hid in an old cabin near the edge of town, one of my old company's forgotten retreats. The silence was thick, interrupted only by the storm outside. Ethan sat by the fire, staring at the laptop. Play it, he said. I nodded and opened the file. Confession final. MP4. Margaret appeared again, older this time, eyes red, voice breaking. John, if you see this, it means Clara has gone too far. I wanted to protect Ethan, but she wanted you destroyed. She said she'd fake my death if I didn't cooperate, and she did. My pulse stopped. She drugged me, staged the car crash. I was supposed to disappear quietly, but she kept me hidden until I escaped. If you find this, she's still alive. Please, save our son from her. The video ended. Ethan's face went pale. She's alive? Before I could answer, headlights flashed outside the window. I grabbed the pistol Victor had dropped at the docks. Stay behind me. The cabin door creaked open. Clara stepped in, soaked, silent, holding a small revolver. Touching video, she said. But Margaret's gone now, I made sure of it. Why? I demanded. She took everything from me. My company, my brother, my life. You think you're the only one who lost something? You used my family for revenge. She used mine first, Clara screamed. Victor was my brother. You framed him, remember? Ethan froze. Victor was your brother? She turned the gun toward me. You destroyed my blood, so I destroyed yours. Time slowed. Her finger tightened on the trigger. I fired first. The shot echoed through the cabin. Clara stumbled back, dropping her weapon, collapsing near the doorway. Rain poured in through the open door, washing her blood into the dirt. Ethan dropped to his knees, shaking. Dad, what have you done? I looked at him, voice hollow. Ended it. But then, her phone buzzed one last time. I picked it up. A text glowed on the screen. Uncan, own. Phase complete. Uploading video now. The screen changed. Clara's camera feed, streaming everything live to a hidden channel. The world had just watched me shoot her. Ethan grabbed my arm. Dad, we have to run. But I didn't move. I stared at the screen, Clara's lifeless eyes reflecting the firelight. For years I'd chased the truth. Now the truth had devoured everything. Ethan whispered, What now? I turned toward him, voice calm, almost peaceful. Now, we disappear. We left the cabin as sirens approached. The flash drive, the gun, and Clara's phone all vanished into the river. As dawn broke, I looked at Ethan. Remember this, son. Revenge doesn't end. It waits. He nodded silently, eyes filled with the same darkness I once carried. And somewhere in the distance, thunder rolled again, like a warning that the story wasn't truly over. She tried to rewrite my life in lies, but I wrote the ending in truth, even if it killed me. Would you destroy your soul to protect your son? I did.